They've convinced you that awakening demands years of meditation, mantras, or a guru hidden in the mountains. But the real key was never outside of you. It's the breath you've been taking for granted since the day you were born. Every inhale holds the blueprint of consciousness itself, and every exhale carries the power to reshape reality. Carl Jung understood this long before breathwork became a trend. He saw that the bridge between your mind and the divine isn't a sacred text. It's the air moving quietly through your lungs. And when you learn to breathe with awareness, the noise of the world fades, and something ancient within you starts to wake up. The question is, are you ready to remember the power you've been breathing all along? There's a strange paradox about awakening. Everyone seeks it in temples, books, or elaborate rituals, yet it's hiding in something as ordinary as breathing. Jung often said that what we overlook most is what holds the key to transformation, and the breath is that invisible bridge. Each inhale is a message from the body, each exhale a letter to the soul. When someone finally pays attention to this rhythm, it's as if the noise of the world pauses for a brief moment of truth. Suddenly, you realize you've been carrying the very instrument of transcendence inside you all along. The breath doesn't just keep you alive, it reminds you that life is constantly moving through you. It's the whisper between your conscious mind and your unconscious depths, the space where emotions hide, waiting to be understood. Think of it as the interpreter between two worlds, your everyday self and the silent witness behind your thoughts. When you take one deep, intentional breath, you're not only calming your nerves, you're signaling your psyche that you're ready to listen. It's like tuning a radio to a forgotten frequency that's been broadcasting wisdom for centuries. And yet, most people breathe like they live. Fast, shallow, distracted. They treat the act of breathing as background noise instead of the main melody. But when awareness returns to the breath, the body begins to soften and the mind stops chasing meaning long enough for it to reveal itself. That's when something shifts, subtly, powerfully, as if the bridge between body and soul finally lights up. And when that bridge is illuminated, something else begins to call from the other side, drawing you deeper toward the inner landscape that awaits in the next step. When a person begins to breathe with awareness, something remarkable happens. The mind stops being the center of the universe. The breath opens a door that logic could never find. Jung believed that symbols and dreams speak in the same language as the breath, non-linear, intuitive, alive. Every inhale carries fragments of memory. Every exhale releases what the psyche no longer needs. It's not about controlling the breath, but letting it guide you, like following a current that knows its way back to the ocean. Try closing your eyes and breathing slowly. You'll notice that beneath the rhythm of your lungs, something deeper begins to stir. Images appear, a forgotten place, a childhood feeling, a face that once mattered. This is the unconscious speaking, not in words, but in sensations. It's the realm of archetypes, where personal experience meets universal truth. Most people fear going there because it feels like stepping into the unknown, but that's exactly where the treasures of self-awareness are buried. Through this quiet exploration, the breath becomes your compass. You're no longer a wanderer lost in thought, but a traveler returning home. The mind may try to interfere, labeling everything, but the breath keeps pulling you into silence, and in that silence, meaning starts to take form. The symbolic world of the unconscious unfolds, and what once seemed mysterious begins to make sense. That's when you realize the next threshold isn't about breathing deeper. It's about having the courage to stay still long enough to meet what surfaces from within. There comes a point when the breath grows so calm that the noise inside finally begins to fade. And in that stillness, what's been hiding starts to appear. The shadow, as Jung called it. It's the collection of everything we've denied, judged, or buried, because it didn't fit the image we wanted to show the world. Most people run from this encounter, mistaking it for darkness. But it's not there to hurt you. It's there to free you. The breath simply holds the lantern while you walk into the cave of your own psyche. As the rhythm steadies, emotions you've long ignored start to rise. Anger, jealousy, shame, sorrow. Instead of fighting them, you just keep breathing. That's the alchemy. The breath transforms reaction into reflection. Suddenly you see that the very things you tried to suppress were trying to teach you something all along. It's like meeting an old friend you misunderstood for years. When you breathe through discomfort instead of escaping it, the energy that was once trapped begins to move again, becoming strength, compassion, even creativity. Inner stillness doesn't mean an empty mind. It means a mind spacious enough to hold every part of you without judgment. And that's where true integration begins. The shadow no longer needs to hide because it's finally being seen. Through this process, the breath becomes a bridge between rejection and acceptance, between fear and understanding. And as that inner reconciliation unfolds, something even more profound awakens. A rhythm that begins to mirror the harmony of life itself. When the breath becomes rhythmic, life starts to feel less like chaos and more like music. Each inhale and exhale becomes a metronome syncing you back to your natural state. Balance. Jung understood that the psyche has its own rhythm, much like the tides or the seasons. When you align your breathing with that rhythm, you stop fighting the current of life and begin to flow with it. You no longer chase peace. It simply finds you in the pauses between breaths. The body relaxes, the mind listens, and the self begins to hum softly in the background, guiding the melody. It's almost funny how quickly we forget this connection. We rush, we stress, we try to fix everything, forgetting that the simplest act, breathing, can restore order. Take a moment to breathe slowly, and you'll notice that even your thoughts start to follow a gentler pace. The breath doesn't only calm you, it teaches you that presence is not something to achieve, but something to remember. It's already here, hiding in the rhythm that's been keeping you alive since your first moment on earth. This rhythm isn't just physiological, it's spiritual. When breath and awareness dance together, the ego quiets down, and the self, that timeless center of consciousness, steps forward. You start to feel guided instead of lost, aligned instead of scattered. That inner rhythm reconnects you with something vast yet intimate, the source that breathes you as much as you breathe it. And once you sense that, the next natural step unfolds. Learning how this same breath can become the alchemist that turns your inner heaviness into pure energy. Every emotion, every thought, every suppressed impulse carries energy. Most people don't realize they're walking around like sealed containers of unexpressed electricity. But the breath, that quiet magician, knows how to transmute it. When you breathe consciously, fear turns into alertness, sadness into sensitivity, and anger into raw vitality. It's not about forcing positivity. It's about letting energy shift form, like ice melting into water. Jung called this psychic alchemy, transforming what's unconscious into something luminous and alive. Think of it like a fire that feeds on your willingness to stay present. The moment you meet discomfort with breath instead of resistance, something unlocks inside you. The energy that was once trapped in tension becomes movement again. Suddenly, inspiration strikes, intuition awakens, creativity flows. You're not healing yourself in a linear sense. You're returning energy to its natural state, fluid, intelligent, responsive. Breathwork doesn't remove pain, it refines it until it becomes wisdom. And the best part? You don't need incense, mantras, or cosmic rituals to make it happen. Just your lungs, your attention, and the courage to stay with what is. This alchemy turns the human experience into art. One inhale shaping awareness, one exhale releasing what no longer serves. And once you've tasted this transformation, the breath begins to reveal its ultimate secret, that awakening isn't an act of doing, but of being. And that realization opens the door to a new way of living entirely. When a person finally realizes that awareness can rest inside the breath, something beautiful happens. Life stops feeling like a problem to solve. Breathing becomes more than a technique, it becomes a state of being. You start noticing the texture of air as it moves through you, the pulse behind every heartbeat, the quiet intelligence guiding it all. In that awareness, you're no longer chasing enlightenment, you're living it. Jung often said that awakening isn't about escaping the human experience, but entering it fully, with your eyes and heart open. Once awareness anchors in the breath, the most ordinary moments start to shimmer with meaning. Washing dishes, walking to work, or watching rainfall becomes sacred because you're actually there. The separation between spiritual and practical disappears. You're not meditating to connect with life. Your entire life becomes meditation. The breath, once overlooked, now serves as a reminder that the divine doesn't live in the clouds. It lives in the lungs, the laughter, the pauses. This is where the awakening deepens, not in dramatic visions, but in gentle constancy. You breathe, and life breathes with you. There's a dialogue unfolding between consciousness and creation, one inhale at a time. You begin to sense that the self and the universe are partners in rhythm, not strangers. And as this dance continues, the illusion of separation slowly dissolves, leading naturally to the next realization, that beyond breath and being lies something even greater, the dissolution of the ego itself. There's a moment in deep awareness when the breath seems to breathe itself. That's when the boundaries of I begin to blur. The ego, that busy narrator of your life, realizes it's not the one in charge of existence. With every inhale, you feel something larger breathing through you. It's humbling, almost amusing to see how seriously the mind tries to own what was never its doing. Jung hinted that this surrender isn't loss, it's liberation. When you stop clinging to control, you meet the vast stillness that's been there all along. It's like floating in an ocean. The more you struggle, the more you sink. But when you let go and trust the water, it holds you effortlessly. The breath works the same way. Trying to dominate it reinforces separation, but surrendering to it erases the illusion of distance between you and life. You start realizing that your thoughts, your fears, even your desires are just ripples on a much larger surface. Beneath them lies an endless quiet, the self that doesn't need validation or victory to exist. When this awareness settles in, a strange peace takes over, not the calm of indifference, but the serenity of belonging. The ego no longer fights to be special because it recognizes that everything is already part of the same whole. Breathing becomes prayer without words, and silence becomes communion. And just when you think this is the end of the journey, the rhythm of the universe itself begins to pulse within you, inviting you to align your breath with something far greater than individuality. At some point, the breath stops belonging only to you. You start to notice how the trees breathe, how the ocean exhales mist, how the wind mirrors the same rhythm moving through your chest. Jung called this deeper field the collective unconscious, the invisible network connecting every living thing. When your breath syncs with that rhythm, you stop feeling like a separate observer and begin to sense yourself as part of a vast, intelligent organism. Each inhale becomes participation, each exhale an offering. You're not apart from creation. You're the heartbeat within it. There's a quiet joy in this realization. You walk down the street and feel the same rhythm in strangers, in passing cars, in sunlight flickering through leaves. Life stops being random and starts feeling orchestrated, as if everything around you is breathing in perfect harmony. The mind, once obsessed with personal narratives, begins to rest. You feel guided by something subtle yet undeniable, a wisdom that doesn't speak in words, but in timing, flow, and synchronicity. The breath becomes the thread, weaving you back into the great tapestry of existence. And when you live from that awareness, even the smallest moments feel sacred. The air you breathe isn't just oxygen, it's memory, connection, and consciousness itself, cycling through every being. You start to see that your next breath was once someone else's, that nothing is truly yours, yet everything includes you. It's here that awakening becomes collective, not about rising above others, but rising with them. And from this place of shared rhythm, a new kind of humanity begins to breathe itself awake. So now that you know the breath isn't just a biological rhythm, but a spiritual language, what will you do with it? Will you keep rushing through life, forgetting that each inhale is an invitation to awaken? Or will you finally pause long enough to meet the consciousness that's been breathing you this whole time? Remember, awakening doesn't begin in silence or stillness. It begins with awareness. The more you breathe with intention, the more the unconscious opens its doors. You start living with clarity, depth, and that unmistakable sense of peace that comes from knowing you're connected to everything. If this message stirred something inside you, even just a quiet recognition, don't let it fade. Practice it, feel it. And if you want to keep expanding your awareness and diving deeper into teachings like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Each breath can be your next step toward transformation, and we'll walk that journey together, one conscious inhale at a time.